Welcome to Today in Prophecy Daily News. In 15 minutes or less, it's news from the perspective of the Bible. Let's get into what in the world is going on. Check out this opening story. Brits could be banned from going on holiday as carbon passports are introduced. No, I'm not making this up. Carbon passports could be introduced to limit the frequency of foreign holidays for UK residents as part of efforts to combat climate change. Tourism is a significant contributor to climate change, accounting for approximately 1/10 of the greenhouse gas emissions driving the crisis. Friends, you couldn't have a lie that's much greater than this one, but there are bigger lies that are out there. For example, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, people will be given over to the strong delusion so that they will believe the lie. That's going to be the real big lie. But I mean, you look at this, really, tourism accounts for 1/10 of greenhouse emissions in the climate crisis. It's just absolutely absurd. Let's go back just a little bit in time and think of this. In 1991, the Club of Rome published a book titled The First Global Revolution. I mean, think of that title, The First Global Revolution. Is searching for, this is a quote from their own book, is searching for a common enemy against whom we can unite. We came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, and water shortages, famine, and the like would fit the bill. All of these dangers are caused by human intervention in natural processes, and it is only through changed attitudes and behavior that they can be overcome. The real enemy then is humanity itself. Friends, that is a direct quote. So what they're saying is, hey, we came up with the idea. Pollution's a problem, famine's a problem, water shortages, Okay, let's change the behaviors. In their own words. No, I'm not making this up. In their own words, they say, we have this idea, we've got to change the behaviors of people. What for? Their global revolution. That's the name of their book. So therefore, in their own words, they say, if we go this path, then we can claim that the real enemy then is humanity itself. So we can go after men, we can manipulate behaviors and patterns in order for our global revolution. Friends, that is in writing, in their own words. And when we read these things that are coming, the climate lies and the climate laws, much of that has gone behind the curtain over the past several months, apart from Greta Thunberg and her flotilla that she was doing. Apart from that, we haven't heard much about climate because everything's big with Israel, with Trump, with the Obama administration, the Department of Justice. So many other things are going on. Russia, Ukraine, China, North Korea now, Iran. All of these different things are taking place where we haven't been hearing much about climate. Well, guess what? Everything is still marching forward behind the curtain. We might not be hearing about it, but this global takeover is coming to control the masses of humanity. All right, let's move on from there to Israel. Check this out. The Knesset approves a measure to apply Israeli sovereignty to the West Bank. I look at that and go, friends, this is truly amazing as we look at something like this. What in the world is going on over in the nation of Israel? According to Israeli law, the current status of the territories it captured from Jordan in the Six-Day War, that'd be 1967, save for East Jerusalem, is that of a temporary belligerent occupation. So looking at this, what does this mean about Israeli sovereignty over Judea and Samaria? This is probably, it doesn't have any teeth in it at this point. I believe it was a vote in 71 of favor in the Knesset of it. Doesn't have any teeth at this point. But the problems are Judea and Samaria. Very interesting to watch with Israel's sovereignty. Does Israel actually have a right to the land? Who owns the land? I'm going to get to that in just a minute too. But as we look at that and we look at the different dynamics that are going on, by the way, you know, I know I've mentioned this several times already. Avi Lipkin's been one of my guests on here several times in the past, and he said, listen, something's going to happen in Judea and Samaria where Jews can come back home from America because there's going to be a Holocaust that's coming to America. So Jews are going to be going back home, and they're going to need to have that land in the areas of Judea and Samaria. And you start to look at everything, it looks like things are going that way. Are they going to have that sovereignty over there to operate freely right now? You still have the major pressures from all over the world, including the U.S., as many in the U.S. are looking to defund Israel, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, who just said, hey, let's defund Israel of the $500 million for their missile program. That was just yesterday. So we look at these things that are going on. Why is there so much going on against Israel? Check this out. Just a couple of things I want to show you. The first one here, as we start putting everything together, we have these Jewish youth that were removed from an airplane. Not sure if you guys were able to catch that. This was in Spain where this happened. I think it was 40 of them. They were returning to France. So we have that is going on, or has been going on. That's in Spain. Why did that happen? Because they were singing on the plane. Listen, if you're a Muslim, I guarantee you can pray and sing and chant as loud as you want. You can be as rowdy as you want. You can have some kind of whatever. I mean, you can't have a fight on a plane. They're going to kick you off. But you can be as loud as you want. Apparently, if you're singing with most other groups, you've got to be careful on saying as loud as you want. Maybe you can't be as loud as you want. But certainly, you can be Islamic going through your prayers. You can be a group that just starts singing and getting along. Everything's fine, but this is a Jewish group that seems to be singled out. Interesting, okay? You have that, but then you also look at this. This is a ship, I believe it happened in Greece, where the Israelis were not allowed to get off. They were blocked from getting off the ship in Greece by a pro-Hamas group. So you have these two different things taking place. There it is, Greece's Syros Island. So you have these two different things that are going on there. Friends, we need to wake up. We keep hearing never again, but it looks like we've come to that place where all of these things are happening again. Disturbing too, very disturbing. Hey, listen, on August 3, I'm going to be getting into what's really going on with the nation of Israel. Do they have any rights to the land? What about the synagogue of Satan or the elders of Zion and these types of things that we keep hearing about? What is Zionism and so forth? Why is the West going so much against the nation of Israel? Going to be dealing with these and a lot more. However, right now, there is some good news here. Check this out. This is out of Munich in Germany. Munich Christians form a human chain to protect the synagogue from pro-Palestinians. So you do have some Christians that are actually standing with Israel. Okay, let me go here for a few minutes. Whose land does the land of Israel belong to? And again, this is going to be real short, but God, if you go to the Bible, God gave the land to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to his descendants forever. But many people say, well, I'm not going to accept the Bible. And then you also have within Christianity, people will say, even in Christianity, I'm not anti-Israel, I'm just anti-Zionism. I'm not anti-Jew, I'm just anti-Zionism. Well, here's a very interesting thing. 152 times in the King James Bible, Zion is mentioned and mentioned favorably. In Psalm chapter 2, verse 8, the Bible says, yet I have set my king on my holy hill of Zion. Psalm 9, verse 11, sing praises to the Lord who dwells in Zion. Check this out. Psalm 14, verse 7, oh, that the salvation of Israel will come out of Zion. When the Lord brings back the captivity of his people, let Jacob rejoice and Israel be glad. Well, wait a minute. So we read this and you realize, wait a minute, God is the one who coined the term Zion. God is the original Zionist. And God says here in Psalm 14, verse 7, he says that salvation of Israel will come out of Zion. When? When the Lord brings back the captivity of his people. That is happening now. Israel is being brought back from the four corners of the earth, just as Isaiah and Jeremiah prophesied, from the north and from the south. They will return to the land. And then it says here in Psalm 14, verse 7, let Jacob rejoice and Israel be glad. What's Jacob? the 12 tribes of Jacob, the nation of Israel. So when people say, wait a minute, the Jews have no right to the land, God says, hey, this is what's going to happen. I am going to bring them back. And not only that, in Daniel chapter 9, verse 24, when it comes to the 70th week of Daniel, or the 70 weeks of Daniel, God says, it is determined 70 weeks are for your people in your holy city. That word determined in the Hebrew is settled. God says it's settled and you can't change it. So people will say, well, I don't believe the Bible. Israel doesn't have any right to the land. You guys are just a bunch of Zionists. Well, I do believe in the Bible. And God says it's settled and it's going to happen exactly as I say it's going to happen. This is why everything is going the direction that it is going. God is bringing Israel back into the land. It's settled. You're not going to be able to stop it. And there's all sorts of anti-Semitism. People don't want Israel back into the land. Think on this one also. By the way, again, that's only 3 verses, 152 times in the King James Bible alone, where Zion is mentioned and mentioned favorably. By the way, okay, now go here to Israel. People are saying those people who are over in Israel, those aren't really the Jews. Those are fake Jews, not really Jews. They have no right to the land. Well, 2 billion Muslims on the planet believe that those are really Jews there, and that's why they want to eliminate them from the land. That's just one factor. Okay, then you just saw the ship not letting Israelis get off the ship, and then also the airplane where they kicked off these French Jews from the airplane. Why did they kick them off? They're Jews, right? Why do they not want these Israelis getting off the ship in Greece? Because they're Jews. So the hypocrisy and double standard is outrageous. So on the one hand, you say those aren't really Jews that are in the land of Israel. On the other hand, you won't let them off the boat in Greece because they're really Jews. And then the other thing is you say, well, they're all of this European descent and they're all part of the same group. The ones that are over there in Israel and the ones that are in Europe that are claiming to be Jews now and claiming to be Jews here in America. Well, if they aren't really Jews, why is it that you're trying to persecute them? Why is it that you kick them off the plane? If they're all part of the same group and they aren't really Jews, what's the problem? Obviously, by the logic alone, the world recognizes these are Jews. They just don't want them in their world. So the Jews aren't allowed to have a land called Israel, the land of Zion, even though God says, I'm giving it to my people Jacob, my people Israel, and salvation is going to come there. Just as Romans chapter 11 teaches, don't be ignorant of this mystery, brethren, lest you be arrogant in your own mind. But blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles has come. And then all Israel will be saved. But they don't want to recognize that. It is a spiritual dynamic. And the logic doesn't even make any sense. You say they're not Jews, but you won't let them around you because they are Jews. Why is that? Because the enemy knows this. These scriptures are going to be fulfilled. Jesus is going to come back. He is going to rule and reign from Jerusalem. The 12 tribes of Jacob will still be here. Israel will still be here. Jerusalem will still be here. And Satan knows that when that happens, when Jesus comes back, he's got a problem because he knows he lost. So the only way he can defeat Jesus, in his mind, it's not going to happen, is to get rid of the Jews, get them out of the land of Israel, wipe out all of the Jews, so Jesus can't keep his promises to Israel where he said, you will not see me again until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Until you say, Baruch haba b'shem Adonai, Hosanna, Lord, you are our Savior. When Israel cries out to Yeshua, he is going to come back. Satan doesn't want that to happen, because when that happens, that is his end. Hence, the enemy of our souls can use anybody who is not born again of the Spirit. So we see all this radical anti-Semitism. We see, by the way, I'm very concerned, Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, I'll bless those who bless thee, I'll curse him who curses thee. As we watch here in the United States of America, it's being pressed. That's defund Israel of their missile program. $500 million, friends. It's a big deal, the things that are taking place. God bless you guys. And remember, look up and lift up your head because your redemption draws near.